To give you an example of one way that that transitioning is happening, this is the grades 6 through 12 Language Arts Common Core Standards. And if you look at this 8th grade band right here in the center, thought the pointer would work. There are 3 little sticky bubbles. One of them is mine, saying that I'm hitting that in my 8th grade reading class. The other 2, if this were the live document, you would be able to see is our music teacher, who's having her students read some biographies of famous musicians, and our computer teacher, who was working on having his students read some articles, current events types things, and produce some products in computer class. I didn't know these things were happening across the board. But recently, when I saw, for example, Rich, our computer teacher, put that in, he came to me and he said, Laura, what can I do? How can I meet these reading standards in my classroom? Marina and I team teach one class together and we're reading The Giver. And he was having them pull some current events type of articles on euthanasia, really read in depth. It connects to the curriculum we're teaching in reading class, but then he's having them produce the product with the presentations and debating and where do they stand, and we're really trying to cross-curricularly hit all of the needs there for the kids. Of course, there were some hurdles that we encountered at first. As with anything that revolves around technology, that can be a hurdle in and of itself. When it's working, it's great. When it's not, boy, is that frustrating. So when we first started using performance pathways, just getting our staff to a common comfort level where everybody was comfortable importing curriculum, that was a huge step. We have some teachers on our staff that are really comfortable with technology. We have others that, I don't want to touch it, I don't want to do it, I'd rather write with paper and pencil still. So that was a big hurdle to overcome at first. When we started to use the Adobe document that you saw there, one of the things that we realized was, even though it was on a server, accessible by everyone K to 12, only one person could work on that document at a time. So it took some learning with our technology team, how are we going to get around that loophole a little bit. So that was one of the hurdles that we encountered this year. The vertical meetings that we're having 6th grade through 12th grade got a little bit of mixed reviews at first from the Unified Arts and the special ed teachers. They were asked to go to a department where they felt their curriculum most lined up. And at first, the first couple of meetings that we had after school, they walked away from those feeling a little intimidated because they didn't have the common language that the math teachers did, or that the science teachers did, or the language arts teachers. So that was a bit of a hurdle at first, getting everybody to have the same language and be able to talk about the same instructional goals for our students. But I think at this point in our year, I think we're over that piece of it. Everybody's gotten to a comfort level, and Sam's going to tell you about some of these successes that we've celebrated.
First of all, we know where our curriculum is now. It is there, it is visible, we have access to it, administration can get right into it, each team member can get right to it. That piece there, just having it at our fingertips is huge. Probably more importantly was the process that we went through, created connections, created purposeful interactions for cross-curricular activities. You know, moving to that common core made us do that. Now, of course, with our new evaluation system coming up, this is huge for us, that we all have a part and we can see exactly what are the expectations, and we've taken the steps to implement those different cross-curricular activities, the terminology. Just last PLC, our math department 6 through 12 sat and through some of these meetings, like Laura said, the terminology wasn't clicking. The different classrooms were using math in their classroom, but the math that they were doing, they weren't connecting it to the mathematical terms that were in the standard. So they actually went through their whole document and did it in layman's terms now. So now the teachers that are in Unified Arts and we're trying to do the cross-curricular activities say, oh, this is what this means. So they're making those common language connections, which they did, the math department did that all by themselves. And it's a credit to our staff, how well they work together, they know what they need to do, and it was just an awesome opportunity to do that. Of course, with the curriculum going into place, you have to tie the assessment in. So there were assessment discussions, there were talks about rigor, and of course, just you putting the Common Core in is going to increase some of those rigorous activities, but the rigor has definitely increased as we start to share our assessments, share our common languages just within the department. And finally, and just like I said at the beginning, it's transparent for us. Our staff sees it, it's out there, but of course this is all linked. Now we can link this to our websites. Our curriculum now is easily accessible, you know, in the certain areas that have to be public accessed. It's right at our parents' fingertips and our students' fingertips, and it just has created a clear and obvious learning goals and objectives, you know, district-wide for us. So basically, that's what we have for you in our little presentation today. Our contact information is here, and I'll be glad to field any questions if you have any.
Yeah, where do you warehouse it at? Do you use a certain program? Did I miss that part?
Yes,
Or
I think there are quite a few of them out there, but the one we use is called Performance Plus.
okay.
And of course, it's a little expensive, but what it's done is it would also ties. We use NWEA. It's kind of like the benchmark assessments foresight that ties into Performance Plus. So we get data and curriculum, and it's all tied into the same system, which is huge for us. So they can bounce back and forth. And the third piece that kind of went with this program that we were working on is this kind of remediation similar to what's the Study Island. We have it's called Compass Learning, and that ties into, you know, taking that data, and you can put the data into the Compass Learning, and it individualizes certain areas for remediation for math and reading.